We're going to have more now on the state of housing. Let's bring in University of Chicago professor Casey Mulligan. He contends that the government's tax breaks are to blame for an overinvestment in housing that far preceded the bubble and the bust that we just experienced. Professor, thanks for joining us here on In Business. You think that the government has basically essentially made the American public addicted to housing?
Yeah, the American public understands the activities that cause them to pay taxes and the activities that don't. And quite frankly, investing in business is going to set you up for a lot of tax liabilities. Your business, as it sells items, you have to pay sales tax. You'll have to pay, if you're a corporation, you pay corporate income tax. Whatever is left for the owners, they're going to pay personal income tax. So there's a whole set of taxes that businesses have to pay, and the housing sector doesn't. So naturally, what investors do is they're biased toward funneling investment into housing where there'll be less taxes.
And this tax bias, as you understand it, you looked at data from before the bubble. You looked all the way up through the year 2000. But it sounds like what you're laying out are sort of necessary but not sufficient conditions for a boom and bust, right? That it took the excesses of mortgage lending to allow for these, the groundwork to basically fall apart.
Well, I'm not sure that the boom and bust was caused by that situation, but it made the boom and bust more painful, given that you already had, for 50 years, you had too much housing compared to business capital. To have a boom that pushed further in that direction was that much more painful for the economy and for the efficiency and the value that our economy can create.
An extension of your argument, though, is that overinvestment in housing has come at the cost of investment in business. So now when we're talking about businesses hopefully hiring, how does that happen if the overall tax structure hasn't changed?
That's right. If we were to have a change in our tax structure, I'm not a politician, so I can't make promises there, but if we were to have a change in our tax structure that was a little less biased, you would have less investment in housing, and that would free up capital for businesses. And we saw that somewhat in 2006 and 2007 when the housing boom cooled off. We saw building for businesses speed up.
So I know you're not a politician, but how would you reverse that? I mean, would you abolish mortgage deductions? I mean, doesn't that come at an immediate pain for the consumer who's already stretched? Well,
you know, it's not really the mortgage deduction per se. That's kind of a famous break, but the real break is that homeowners don't charge themselves rent, so that doesn't generate income to be taxed by sales or by the income tax or the corporate tax. That's the real issue. And what some European countries did years ago was when they went to a national sales tax, what they did is they charged that tax on new houses. So people who already have a house, they'd be okay. They wouldn't have to pay that tax. But new houses would pay that tax, and that would encourage some capital to move out of house building and into business building.
I understand the theory, but in practice, I mean, we've already got this issue of oversupply. So in some ways, do we need to encourage the addiction just to get the oversupply out of the market?
Oh, no, if you adopted a value-added tax that taxed new houses, that would slow down construction, and that would help your supply. If you think we're oversupplied, that would help the supply issue. There would be less building. There's already not a lot of building. Right, but the existing supply competes with the new houses, and we are building new houses right now, not at the pace we used to. And taxing that activity would reduce the new houses that are being brought onto the market, and that'd be that much better for existing houses.
It's an interesting theory. It made for a very interesting read. Thank you very much for coming on today. We do have to leave it there.